Two people. Peter Wain, a rural consultant, mapping and data, speciality and so much more, grew up in Wain. Been doing this for 20 years, so obviously day release from school when he started, absolutely. Ecosystems, natural capital, we're going to find out about regeneration earth as well, and based at schooling in the area in Cransbrook and in Canterbury. And alongside him, matinee film god, the Silver Fox, that is Ian Bailey. Morning to you, Ian. Traditional farming background. That's the farm's still doing that. Bank Farm at Waldington, but for 7 years been regenerative farming, based at Rye. So again, regeneration earth. I look forward to hearing more about it. So it's a great way to spend a Thursday morning. I'm going to be taking some apple juice and apples back to Simon Mayo on air tonight on the radio. We'll be cooking them up, so it's a good way to talk about all the stuff that I hear today. Gentlemen, over to you. Enjoy yourselves. And if you've got the slides, you've got a pinger here if you need it. There you go. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely.
It works.
Yes.
Great. Good morning. Can I start with a question? Where does the value of your carbon and the natural capital lie? Is it in the banks, in the retailers, or in the merchants? Yeah, we believe it's with you in the farm, in the business, and that's where it should stay. So it's just as you have to account for your carbon emissions, your scope 3 carbon emissions, when you buy fertiliser, you have to account for the emissions in the production of the fertiliser, so it should be the same when you're selling on to retailers, and the banks are looking for you to provide some of their carbon offsetting. So it's all about food and nature. So what I want to do this morning with Pete is to explain our approach for the net zero journey.
Ian, I'm just going to get you a bit nearer to the mic.
Oh, right, sorry. Brilliant. Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that's great.
That's great, okay. I just realised the slides are down here, that's great. So what I want to do just for a start is to look at the context, the financial context, the policy context, and on the slides here we can see that this is the subsidies from the government since 1974, and the key part is, I don't know whether this will work.
It's very bright.
Is this the big orange block is the basic payment scheme that we've been used to for several years, and as we all know, that is going to disappear by 2027. So what comes after that? Where does the rest of the value? Where can we get extra value from farming businesses? So our net zero journey, Regeneration Earth, was set up to look at regenerative consultancy. We partner with the UK Carbon Code of Conduct, which I'll explain in a minute as our protocols. And so we create baselines. So our journey is simply here in summary. We start by measuring. We believe you have to measure, you can't model. So we measure the baselines, and we'll work through those in a minute. We develop a project. We look at the results of that baseline, and we develop a project for you for the next 5 years and 5-year tranches. We report that through an interactive dashboard, which Pete will show you. We verify the data, so it's completely transparent, completely auditable. We approve it and certify it through the protocols of the UK Carbon Code of Conduct. So that sort of outlines what we're going to talk about. So starting on the baselining, so we start with a carbon audit. Really understand your carbon emissions, your sequestration, and where you are on the journey towards net zero. So we look at, on the left-hand side, we expect you to be somewhere like this. So heavier emissions, more emissions than sequestration. So we look at everything from fuel, materials, inventory. So treat it like a trading, a profit and loss account. And a capital account, a balance sheet. Inputs, waste, distribution, processing. We go through all that's happening within your business on emissions. And then we look at the other side, and Pete will explain how we do this and how we collect the data, but looking at all the opportunities for sequestration. So one of the things that where we're different is we look at the whole business holistically. So looking at your emissions, looking at your sequestration. Because it's all yours and you should benefit from it. This is the aim, to get you to net zero. and obviously beyond, so that it tips on this side. Just a bit more detail here on the emissions, just showing how much detail we do go into. So under all these headings, you can see all the different categories. I won't go through those in detail, but we spend a lot of time getting this right, because this is your basis for selling, trading carbon in the future. And if you can justify all your numbers as completely auditable and reportable, then in the future, your customers and the banks and things will see that you've done that work. And when you're selling it, you'll be able to, people will actually know where their carbon's been sequestered. So I'll pass over to Pete, who's going to look at the next parts of the baseline.
So when we talk about carbon sequestration, what we're looking at is above and below ground carbon capture. Above ground, we're looking at biomass. So we're looking at, and the best way of recording biomass is by creating habitat maps. So we create a habitat map baseline. So we map all of the farm's woodland, hedges, grassland, wetland, crops, and each of those has a value in terms of carbon sequestration. We go into a lot of detail. So we're mapping every single different type of habitat down to a meter resolution, and we're also bringing other data sets in, such as trees from the national tree map. So we know for every farm how many trees there are, and for each of those trees we also record their height and their canopy cover. So we're building up a massive picture of above ground biomass and its ability to capture carbon.
Brilliant. I shouldn't.
Below ground,
Okay,
we're
fine.
looking at carbon capture through soil. And we have a way of using the UK Carbon Code of Conduct protocols, which stipulate random soil sampling at a specific frequency across different types of land. So we go and do a full soil carbon audit across a farm, and the results come back from the lab, independently tested and verified. And from that we get a picture of soil health, soil carbon, for every individual field across a farm. This is obviously baseline, and then in 5 years' time we'll go back and reassess those same fields, and taking one from the other, we'll be able to identify real change between soil organic carbon between year 1 and year 6. All of this is then put into the farm carbon calculator. So all of the data collected, as Ian was talking, from the emissions, goes into the calculator, and you can see a slightly more detailed breakdown there between the fuels, materials, inventory. So every farm gets a picture of where their highest emissions are coming from. And on the sequestration side, the bits in green, you can understand from the holistic point of view where you're capturing carbon across your farm. When you put those two together and take one from the other, you get to understand what the net zero and carbon balance is. And in this example, this is Chapel Down. The data's still draft, so we've taken off some of the numbers. You can see the dial there is showing that they've got a little way to go in terms of becoming net zero. And really that's the point for me to hand back to Ian, because from this point of view, we've quantified what the baselines are, emissions and sequestration, and we can now start to plan a way forward through project development over the next 5 years, both in terms of a carbon emissions reduction plan for the farmer, and also a plan to improve and sequester more carbon through habitat creation, such as new hedges and woodland.
Will you not turn me on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. It's better with... Okay? Yeah, okay, great. So as Pete said, we've done all the baselining. What do we do with it then? So what we do with the Regeneration Earth, Richard, my colleague here as well, between us, we work with you, very closely with you, to develop a project which suits your objectives, suits your business, to take the journey now to net zero. So we've got all the data. So we're looking at things like emissions reduction plan. Not only can that reduce your carbon emissions, it can reduce your costs, and quite significantly, especially when they're things like arable, like fertilizer, fuel. And if we can reduce those through looking at new changes in land management, changes in land use, so potentially we can be looking at ideas for some biodiversity net gain, some increased habitats, maybe water quality, and flood restriction, as well as looking at carbon. So bringing all those things, all that value that you've got in your business together. We'll look at a carbon sequestration plan. We know what you've got. Where can we add to that? So we're reducing the emissions, we're increasing the sequestration. So it comes together. Hopefully we can get to net zero much quicker. And the businesses and farms that we've been working on, Beach Estate in Sussex is one of them. We've done a case study. If you want that, let us know. They're already at net zero, already got carbon deposited that can be sold when the price is right and when they want to sell. And a lot of businesses we've worked with, we've done these plans, are not that far from net zero. It might take a few years, but with the right plans. And as you come through into VPS leaving and disappearing and things, this will create a lot of value. And also, you've got a certificate which you can prove to your retailers, to the people buying your products. We'll look at various scenarios and options. We'll go through those with you. We'll spend a lot of time with you on the consultancy side, and you'll have access to ongoing support over the 5 years. We do an annual trip once we've decided where we're going, what you want to do, how we're going to get there. We'll come and see you once a year, but we're always on the end of a telephone. So developing that project in 5-year tranches, and at the end of 5 years, we'll do a complete review again. We'll do another carbon audit. We'll do another set of soil testing, and we'll look at your habitats and things. Because we've got all the data, it's all in a dashboard, we can really illustrate to the people that need to know, your buyers, retailers, anybody you're selling carbon or natural capital to, it's all on a dashboard. It's all there. Easy to see, very transparent, and recording what you're doing. So I mentioned the UK Carbon Code of Conduct earlier on. This is something that has been developed alongside what we're doing by Doug, and it's taken a lot of work. We felt that in the industry there wasn't the right sort of carbon code out there, so we spent a lot of time on the protocols. And this we can look at things holistically, as I mentioned at the beginning. So we look at the whole farm, not just a field, not just the arable enterprise, the dairy enterprise, because we believe that if you bring it all together, you've got the opportunities from sequestration, you've got the opportunities to reduce emissions. So maximise your benefit. So this, I won't go into this in detail, it's all on the website, but it's a very strict set of standards, looking to produce high integrity carbon credits. And because we've got all the data, we know where the carbon comes from. If a carbon buyer says, look, I really want to see where that carbon, my carbon's being sequestered, we can take them there and show them. Or they can take their employees there and show them and have a day at the farm and see where the hedges are, the trees are, the wildflower meadows that are actually sequestering carbon. So very strict, additionality, permanence, leakage, negative outcomes, all the things that you need to do to make sure that if we're going to make a difference, reduce emissions internationally, globally, we need to make sure that we do all these things and that we don't start ploughing up in a few years' time, we don't undo the good work. So Pete's just going to, we're very sorry, but Josh can't be here, but Peter's just going to run through Josh's slides, the work we're doing with Chapel Down.
Okay, so as Ian said, Josh Donahue Spire from Chapel Down, their chief winemaker and sustainability manager, unfortunately couldn't be here today because of today's storm. But he was going to quickly run through the project that we've been started with them. They're England's largest wine producers, and historically they've looked at sustainability in a very piecemeal way, and they wanted a way of creating a more sort of strategic and robust way of analysing their sustainability, and so they've engaged us to look at their full carbon audit so they can understand where their net zero position is. So we've been through all of their emissions data, all of their sequestration data. The slides I was showing you earlier were examples of that. And so they're now starting to use that data to create some projects to take that forward. So in terms of emissions reduction, looking at alternative glasses, more recycled glass, different processes within their winery to try and reduce emissions, but also on their land, the periphery of their vineyards, looking at lots of hedgerow creation, cover cropping, woodland creation, and so on. So probably can't do more of an in-depth presentation on that, but it's an exciting project. We're just starting looking at sort of the next 5 years for Chapel Down. Thank you.
Any questions?
Much appreciated. Thank you very much for the vagaries of the PA system. Good of you to do that. Yeah, here we go. I'm just on the head, mic here. But if no questions, then you can relax. You can go and have a look around the show. Just if you want to know more, just tell us where we can find that out. Websites.
Regenerationearth.com. Yeah, regenerationearth.com is a website to go to, or the UK Carbon Code of Conduct.
Thank you.
We'll give you more information on that, and then through that you can come back to us.
Yeah, thank you. We're just handing it out there. Regeneration www.re-generation.com. Based, of course, Sittingbourne in Kent. But you've got the lads here in question. This is the time to ask the questions if you so wish. But thank you very much. Well done, Ian and Pete. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much.